Hello everyone, welcome to Needful Things again. Today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful pattern here. I'm using a hook, which is, this one's an I and this one is a J. Excuse me, this one's an I, Susan Bates, or a 9 she calls it, or an I. This is a boy and it is a size I also. They're both the same size, I. Okay. I'm using a 4-weight yarn, and that's all you need. And we're going to make this beautiful stitch here. We're going to do it horizontally, and then we're going to display it vertically. Okay, so it's a very simple pattern, and we're going to do that today on Needful Things again. So please join us and enjoy. Okay, so we're back, and here's our big giant ball of yarn. Isn't that the biggest ball of yarn you've ever seen? Of course it won't fit into my little bowl. It will eventually. So we'll put that over there, and this is my big giant ball of yarn. So I'm just going to put that over there because I'm going to be pulling from that giant ball. But I don't want you to have to look at it. Now we're going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see better. And what we're going to do now to start our piece here, we're going to chain. I'm doing a throw. This also will work for my Camp Boggy Creek people. And it's going to be 40 inches wide and 50 inches long. And we're going to be working, like I said, we're going to be working vertically, but we're going to display horizontal. So it's going to be 50 inches this way in length and then 40 inches this way. Okay, so to get started, just make a slip knot. Now we're going to chain 162 stitches, or 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1. So we're going to do 162 plus 1, which would be 163. But I want you to just chain 162, okay? And also, you might want to get yourself a counter to get your 162 stitches so you don't miss any, okay? So I'm going to get started here, and you too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. I'm going to keep going off camera so that you don't have to watch that. I'll meet you back with my 162 stitches. Okay, so I'm back with my chain. I've got 162. And make sure you don't pull your tension really tight, because if you become a really tight tension holder, your crochet career is going to be miserable for you. That might be good with tatting or something, or lacing, or making small things, yarns, using small cotton threads and things. But right now you need to be a little bit looser on your tension, because you're going to hate what you have to do next, but you're going to do it. So I've got my 162 chains, as you can see on my counter. I'm going to put my pinch the last chain here I made, which is 162. Then I'm going to pull that next chain. Then I'm going to go back into 162 in the back bump. You see here, there's the front of the stitch. If you turn it over, there's the back bump right here. That's where you're going through. Back bump. Pull your loop through, yarn over, go through both. There's your first single crochet. We're going to go in that back bump right there. Pull your yarn through, yarn over, go through the 2 loops, second single crochet. And all the way across the row, we're going to do single crochets. And you'll end with 162 stitches. That is for this size blanket, which, like I said, is going to be 40 by 50. You can make a larger one if you'd like. Just make sure you start with an odd chain and end with an even number of beginning stitches. So I'm going to work single crochets all the way across this row. In the back bump, I'm at the back bump of the stitch. I'm doing that for two reasons. One is it makes your piece a little more, it doesn't tighten it up so on the bottom line, and it lays much nicer. And it also gives you this beautiful finish on the edge here instead of that tight twisted stitch that you get if you go through the whole chain like right here. So we're going in our back bump, single crochet, back bump, single crochet. We're going to do this all the way across. You should have 162 stitches when you get to the end. If you didn't, you'll have to start over. Okay, so I'm going to complete that off camera, and I'll be back to show you what we'll do next. Okay, so I'm back, and I have done my 162 single crochets in the back loops only, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so we're going to move on to here. We're going to chain one, turn your work, like so, and we're on this row here. We're going to start in the very first stitch. Here's the top of the stitch, here's the front loop here, the front bar of the stitch, here's the back bar of the stitch back here. We're going in this back bar, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through your two loops, there's your first single crochet, back loop, back loop, single crochet in the 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 back loop, and we're going to do this all the way across the row, single crochet in the back loop. When you get to the end of this row, you will chain one, turn your work, do another row of single crochet in the back loop. You'll do 4 rows total. So you do your 4 rows of single crochets in the back loops only. Get to the end of the row, you'll chain one and turn, do your other row, and you'll have 162 stitches on each row. You can pause, you can back it up, slow it down if you need to. I'll just do a few more single crochets in the back loop. Give you work a little stretch there so it doesn't get all curled up on you. I don't block things, I hate blocking. So we'll do the 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of single crochets in the back loops, and I'll catch up with you when I get mine done, and we'll go on to the next part. Okay, so I finished my 4 rows of single crochet in the back loops. This is my 4th row. So I'm at the end of that row. I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. Now this is where the magic begins. In the very first stitch, we're going to go through pull up our loop, do a single crochet, just like that. And we're going to skip this one, 1, 2, and in the second one, yarn over. Excuse me, get a little ahead of myself sometimes. So 1, 2, in the second one, we're going to do a single crochet. So we skipped this one right here. Okay, we skipped one. So now we're going to yarn over and go back into the stitch in between those two that we skipped. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All in that time, we're going to pull up 4 loops. We're making a puff stitch. Yarn over, pull through all the loops, leaving the first one on the hook. Now you have 2 on the hook. You've pulled that through all the puff stitches. Yarn over and pull through those 2 stitches and close out your puff stitch. Like that. And then it sort of leans over this way. Okay, now we have 2 stitches here. We're going to skip this one, go into this next stitch and do a single crochet. Okay, so we skip this stitch right here again to get to that one we just did. So we're going to yarn over and go back into that stitch. Right there it is. And pull through 4 loops. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through all those loops, leaving 2 on the hook. Your first one that you started with and the loop you pulled through all the loops. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops to close your puff stitch. And you see it's leaning sort of in that direction. Now we're going to go 1, skip this one, go into the next one, single crochet, like that. We skipped this one right here. Right here we skipped. So we're going to yarn over and go back into that stitch that we skipped. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, pull through those loops, leaving 2 on the hook. Yarn over and pull through those 2. We have 2 stitches. We're going to skip this one, move to this one, do our single crochet. Then we'll go back to this one and pull up our 4 loops, do our puff stitch, and move to the next. So we'll single crochet here. We skip that stitch. We skipped this stitch right here. We skipped the stitch right here. You see there's a stitch right there. Yarn over, go back to where we skipped, right here. Go into the stitch, pull up the first loop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull through all the loops. Yarn over, pull through the 2 on the hook, and there's your puff stitch. If you're not used to puff stitches, you might want to practice your puff stitch a little bit, because this is a lot of puff stitches, but it's worth it. Okay, so 1, 2 stitches. We're going to skip this stitch here and go into this stitch with our single crochet. Then we're going to yarn over, go back to the skip stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, pull through all those loops, leaving 2 on the hook there. Yarn over and pull through those 2. Okay. We're going to continue in this way across the row. 1, 2, we're going to skip this one, go into this one, single crochet. Yarn over, go back into the skip stitch here. Pull up our loops. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you have to pull them a little, pull them up enough so you have a nice puff stitch. Pull through all those loops you just did. That's your original stitch that was on the hook. That's the one you pulled through the puff stitches. Yarn over, pull through both of those. It's very simple. Skip this one, single crochet in the next one. Yarn over, go back to the skipped stitch. Into that stitch, we're going to pull up the 4 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, pull through those loops. Yarn over, pull through the 2 on the hook. And this is what we're doing. And we're going to do this all the way across this row to the end. Now remember, when you start a row, you end the row the same. We started with our single crochet because that's just one turning chain. We don't count that because in the first stitch we did the single crochet. So we'll end with 1 single crochet there on the other end of this row when we get to this end here. So we'll keep working the row across, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. I'll do one more for you. 1 stitch we're skipping, we're moving to the next one with our single crochet. Yarn over, go back to the skip stitch. Pull up your loops. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Close your puff stitch and just keep moving on in that same manner all the way to the end of the row, and I'll meet you when you get to the end of that row. Now remember, you can pause it, back it up, and I'll see you at the end of the row. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of my row of puff stitches and single crochets. I've got one more to do. I just did this puff stitch. I'm going to skip this one to the single crochet here. Yarn over, go back to the skip stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Close up the puff stitch. We have 1 stitch left. That chain doesn't count. Go into that stitch, do a single crochet, and that's the end of the first row of puff stitches and single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. That chain does not count as a stitch. Turn our work. We're going to start in the first stitch with a single crochet. And we're going to skip the next stitch here. Go into the next one. Single crochet. Yarn over, go back to the top of this stitch right here that we just skipped. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, close the puff stitch. In the next stitch there, you see we have 1 stitch there, 1 stitch there. We're going to skip this one, go into this one, do our single crochet. We're doing the same thing we did on the other row, just in the other direction. There's the stitch. It might be difficult for you, but it's right at the top of that puff stitch, right there. That's the stitch, right there. We skipped it, okay? Yarn over, so we'll go, it looks like you're in that puff stitch, but you're not. You're right here in the stitch that you just skipped. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, close. 1, 2, single crochet. And you see we're doing the same thing but in another direction. And so we remember we started with a single crochet here. That chain, the turning chain doesn't count. So on the other end you should finish with also with a single crochet as your last stitch. yarn over, go back to the skip stitch here, right here, pull up 1, yarn over, pull up 2, yarn over, pull up 3, yarn over, pull up 4, yarn over, pull through those loops you just pulled up, you have 2 on the hook, yarn over, pull through those 2. 1 stitch, 2 stitch, in the second stitch, skip that one, go to this one, single crochet, and you see what we're doing? And it looks like wheat. If you've ever seen wheat growing in a field, maybe a lot of you probably haven't. I don't even know if they grow it anymore, do they? So yeah, that looks kind of like wheat. Yarn over, go back to the skip stitch, pull up your loops, 4, well, 1, 2, 3, and 4, yarn over, pull through all those loops, yarn over, close your puff stitch. Once skip this stitch here, move to this stitch here, single crochet, yarn over, go back to the skip stitch, 1, 2, 3, and 4, close your puff stitch, skip this one, go to the next one, number 2, single crochet, go back to the skip stitch, do your puff, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you haven't done a lot of work with puff stitches, just practice on a piece, because you have to get used to, your tension needs to be a little looser when you're pulling up the larger loops, So just continue on. We're now skip in the next one, single, yarn over, go back to the skip stitch, 1, 2, 3, and 4, yarn over, pull through those loops, yarn over, pull through those 2. Skip this one, go into the next one, single crochet, go back to the skipped one, do the puff stitch, move forward, doing the same thing, skipping the stitch, doing the single crochet in the next one, and we're going to be doing this all the way across the row until you get to the end, and I'll meet you at the end of this row, and we'll move on to the next one. So let me do one more here. We're going to go back to the skip stitch here. Right here is the stitch we skipped, and we're going to go into that one. That's where we're going to pull our loops up, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to yarn over and pull through those loops we just pulled. That'll leave 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through those 2. Then we move on. We skip this stitch right here. That stitch we're skipping. We're skipping it. This one, moving into here, single crochet, go back to the skip stitch, pull up our loops, 1, 2, 3, and 4, yarn over, pull through all those loops, yarn over, close your puff stitch, and move on down the road. And I'll catch up with you on the way back at the end of the road and show you what to do there. Okay, so I've gotten to the end of my row, my second row of puff stitches and singles. I've got one couple more to do. So I've done my single, so I'm going to go back and pick up this puff stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through those loops, yarn over, close the puff stitch. Now here's our next stitch right here, 1, so we're going to skip that and go into here, put a single, then go back into that skip stitch, 1, 2, 3, and 4, close the puff stitch. We have 1 stitch left right here, that's a single crochet. And there we have it. And there's our first row of wheat stitches. You can see it this way. You can see it's the same on both sides really, so this piece will be sort of reversible. So now we're at the end there. So what we're going to do is chain 1, turn our work. Okay. In the very first stitch, we're going to single crochet. I want you to single crochet. We're going back to the single crochet in the back loops here because we're going to do 4 rows here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're just doing 4 rows in the back loops only. Okay. And we're just going to do that all the way across the end of the row in the back loops. Single crochet, you should have 162 stitches like you've always had. And you'll do all the way to the end. Chain 1, turn. And we're going to do 4 rows of this just like we did down at the bottom. So I'll check in with you. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of my first row of single crochets in the back loops after the wheat stitch part. So I'm in that back loop of the stitch. There's 2 bars, you know. And I'm just going to come down to the end of the row. And this is a good place to count to make sure you're still keeping your correct stitch count. Okay, there's our last stitch. Now we're going to chain 1, turn our work. Okay. So that first stitch in the back loop, we're going to do our first single crochet. Same thing on the next stitch, back loops only. All the sections in between the puff stitches are in the back loops. This is row 2. Sorry, I got a little out of shot there. I get so into what I'm doing, I forget to look at the camera. Guess I could get a monitor. So continue in the back loops with your single crochets. And you'll finish the same way on the other end. You'll do your last one, you'll do your chain, turn your work, and we'll do 4 rows single crochets in the back loops, okay? And when I get finished with the 4th row, I'll check back up with you then so we can go to the next part. Okay, so I finished my 4th row, as you can see. And so now what we're going to do is, guess what? Chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to do 4 more rows of single crochets in the back loops just like we just did. We're going to do 4 more. Starting in the first one, back loops only. Like this. So we're just going to do 4 more of what we just did. So total in between, what we're going to have is, in between the braids, we're going to have basically like this. Well, it won't be going in the opposite direction, but you understand what I'm saying. So we'll have 4 rows in between, and then we'll do another wheat stitch, okay? So do 4 more rows of your single crochets in the back rows to have a total of 8 rows. Okay? And that's going to be in between each one of our braided wheat stitches. Alright? Okay, finish your 8 rows and I'll meet back up with you. Okay, so I'm at the end of my 8th row of single crochets, which is the second part of that section. Chain 1 and turn. Okay, so here's where we are. We chain 1 and turn. So I just want to show you that each section is like we did 4 rows, then the puff, then 4 rows. So that's like a section. And then we did, so we're on another section now. We've done the first 4 rows, which is here. So now we're going to do 2 rows of puffs, and then 4 more rows, and then 4 more. So in between each puff section, there'll be 8 stitches. And 4 of it belongs to this section, and then this starts the next section, and then the puff in the middle here, if that makes sense. So now we're on a puff section. So our first stitch is going to be a single crochet. Then we're going to skip the second stitch, go to this next one, the third stitch, single crochet, and the one we skipped right here, just like before, we're going to go in there, and that's where we're going to pull our puff from. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Close the puff stitch. Okay, skip this one, go to the next one, do the single crochet. Okay. Now we're going to go back to where we skipped and bring up the puff stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close the puff stitch. Skip this one, go to the next one, put in your single crochet, then go back and do your puff stitch there, just like we did down here in this section. If you need to back up and look at this one again, it's the same exact way. So we're just going to be going across doing that. I'll do a few here. It's exactly like the first puff section. You know, this is the pattern now that you'll be following. As you can see, it's rather simple. And you'll just repeat your pattern all the way across, exactly like you did down here in the first puff section. And when you get to the end, you'll do your, you started with your single crochet here, you'll end the same with a single crochet on the other end, chain one turn, then do the second part of the puff like we did down here. If you need to go back and look at that, you can. And so when I get my puff section complete, I will come back and meet you again, and we'll do the 4 rows here. Okay, so I'm at the end of my second section of puff stitches. Got one more section here. 1, 2. Single crochet, then go back into the skip stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Close the puff stitch. We have 1 stitch left, that's a single crochet. And there's my first row. So now I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. First stitch is always my single crochet. Okay, skip this stitch, move to the next stitch, do your single crochet, yarn over, go back to the skip stitch, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Close the puff stitch. Skip the next stitch. Go into the next stitch, single crochet. And it's the same as we did on the other rows down here. We're on this row here now, so we'll do the same thing all the way down. Go back, pick up the skip stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pull it through and close the door. Skip this one. Go into the next one with your single crochet. And we're doing exactly the same thing as you see. And just continue across the end of your row, chain 1 and turn. After you get to the other end, you'll do your single crochet on the end, chain 1 and turn, and I'll meet up with you there. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of my second row of my puff stitches. I've done my single crochet there, so now I'm going to go back in that skip stitch there, pull up my 4 loops, 1, 2, 3, and 4, pull through, shut the door. Okay, now there's our next stitch there, so we're going to go in the very next stitch and do our single crochet. Then we're going to go back into that stitch right there that we skipped. That's where we're pulling our loops. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pull it through and shut the door. Okay, now we have 1 left, and we're going to do our single crochet in that row. That's how we end and begin every row. Chain 1. And here's what we've done so far. And we're just repeating this process. And I think my blanket's going to have 14 of the wheat stitch sections. And remember, there's 8 stitches in between each one, because each section is 4, the wheat stitch, 4, then 4 more, and the wheat stitch, and we'll do 4 more. So now we're going to do our 8 rows in between, which, as you remember, is just single crochets in the back loop. So we chained one. We're going to go in that very first stitch in the back loop, pull up our loop and do our single crochet. And we're just going to go in the back loops all the way across for 8 rows, because we have 4 to finish this little section of the motif, and then 4 more to start our next section of the motif. So just continue with your single crochets, 8 rows, and we're just repeating the pattern, and then you'll do another row of the puff and another row of the puff, and then you'll do 8 more rows. And when you get to the other side, we're only going to do 4, and that'll be the finish. So I believe my pattern is going to have 14 of those. I don't know if you made yours larger or smaller. So I'm going to complete those 8 rows, and I'll check back with you then. Okay, so I'm coming up on beginning my last section of the wheat stitch section. So I've done my last, we're doing in between each section, we're doing the 8 rows of single crochet in the back loops. So I've just finished my last row and I'm back to the wheat stitch. Let's see, how many did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to do, so that means I've done 11 rows, sections of wheat stitch. And then the 8 in between, and I just finished the last section of 8. So I'll do 1 more wheat stitch, and then I'll end my blanket with, or throw with 4 rows of single crochets in the back loops. So I'm just going to, and also, these are all done in the back loops, but when you start your section of the wheat stitch, the first single crochet there is in, it's a regular crochet, it's not in the back loop. So in that first one, then skip 1. Then go back to the skipped one, pull up our puff stitch, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pull it through, 2 left, pull it through and close it. There's our first puff stitch. Skip 1, go to the next one, single crochet. Of course you know this by now, we're at the end. So I'm just going to work here a little bit. If you hear a noise, that's my dishwasher, I apologize. So we'll do a single crochet here. Then we'll go back to our skip stitch and do our puff with 4 pulls. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pull it through and close the door. Skip a stitch, then we'll do a single crochet in the next. Go back to our skip stitch, pull up our loops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull it through, yarn over, and close the door. Okay, skip a stitch, then single crochet in the next, and go back to your skip stitch and repeat your puff. Okay. Doing our puff stitch right here, we're going to pull up our loops, 3 and 4. Then we're going to pull it through, yarn over, close it off, skip a stitch, go into the next one, do our single crochet. And you know the process by now, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this row. And I'll meet up with you when we get to the end of the wheat pattern, and I'm going to do the 4 rows, okay? Okay, I'm coming to the end of my last section of the wheat stitch here. And so when I get done with this, I'm going to chain 1, of course, and turn. And then I'll do 4 rows of the single crochets in the back loops here. And I'll be finished. And it will look exactly like how we began, with the 4 rows here in the beginning. This is a reversible pattern. You can wear either side, or use either side. You're not going to wear it. It's a throw. And then we'll do a border on the edge across here, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to get this finished. And also I've done my thing where I like to mix different whites, because I just love the way the light falls on the different colors. So I've done that. So just continue that and get your last 4 rows and catch up at the end, and we'll do the borders. Okay? Okay, so here we are at the end of our last row of single crochets in the back loops, so that we finished with the 4 rows just like the beginning, where we had the 4 rows on that side. Now we have the same thing on this side. Okay, so now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. It's pretty huge. So turn my work, and now we're going to start going all the way around. This time we're going to do single crochets all the way around the entire piece. Now we're going to start going down this side here, so that's a very simple way to do. So we've chained 1, and we're going to go through the entire stitch and do a regular single crochet. Okay? In every stitch. And now what I'm going to do here on that first one, I've got a stitch marker, and we're just going to put it in that first stitch so we know that's where we started, because you can easily get lost going around doing this, and I don't want you to. So when we get to the end, like, it'll look just like this, both ends. And on here what I'm going to do is I'm going to put try to put like 1 here, and even though there's 8 rows of single crochets in the back loops here, we'll see what we get in here, because I might just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 instead of 8, because we want single crochets. We'll just fit that in as best you can and space it out really nicely. I'll show you mine when I get it done, but that's how I'm going to try it. So just go all the way around the piece and meet up right back here. I'll meet you right back at our stitch marker and do single crochets all the way around. Okay? Okay, as you can see, I've come to the end of my row, and I'm spacing them out as best I can. You don't want it to pull or, tug in or stretch it out. So I'm down to the last 2 stitches here. I'm going to show you what I'm doing on the corners. So let me get my last stitches in here. And then on the corner there, we've done the last stitch on the end here. So after the last stitch, you'll chain 1. And then go right into the first stitch on this next side section, the single crochet, and you'll just go into every stitch just like the other side with a single crochet. So that gives us a little bit of a corner there. I don't want anything really sharp because we're going to do another stitch back on this. We're going to do a crab stitch or a reverse crochet, if you know what that is. So just keep going, and I just want to show you what I was doing on the corners there, okay? Okay, when you come to the end, I'm almost back to my marker where we started. So I've got one more single crochet to put in this last stitch. And then I'm just going to go right over here to where the marker is in that stitch and join with a slip stitch. Just like that. Going to remove my marker. Then I'm going to chain one. And now we're going to do a reverse crochet. Okay, so here we are at the end. Now, we finished that corner. And we've done a chain one. And now we're going to go, and I'm working on the front piece of my work. This is the front side. We're doing all of this on the front side. So we're going to do a reverse crochet, which is also called a crab stitch. They also tell you to chain one, don't go. I'm telling you, for me, I want you to grab the back bar of that very first stitch and go under the front bar. Loop over your hook. Pull it all through and give it a little twist. Okay. Go into the next one. Front bar only of the stitch. Pull your loop through. Give it a little twist. That one got a little stuck. Once you get the first couple done, it's very easy. So you just go through that front bar of the stitch, pull your stitch through, yarn over, close it. Go to the next one, front stitch, pull your loop through, give it a twist. And you have to do it, loosen up your tension, or you'll get the ugliest thing you've ever seen. And it'll just give us a nice little finish edging around our piece, because I didn't want it to be any larger. You could also do a beautiful edging on just the bottom and the top. But since I want this piece to be 40 by 50, so I can send it to Camp Boggy Creek, I'm only going to do this edging around because I don't want to make the piece any larger. Always move to the next front bar, pull your loop through. Okay, so we're going to continue doing that all the way around. Let me see if I can do it a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. So we're moving into that next stitch, which is right here, into the front bar. Grabbing your yarn, pulling it back through that same thing and twisting it around. If you've never done this before, it takes a little bit of practice to get used to it. When I first started learning it, I hated it. But now it's quite simple and quite fast. Doesn't look like it here because I'm doing this really slow so you can see the dynamics of the stitch. Front loop, grab your yarn, pull it back through, pull it through there, twist it, give it a little twist around. And if you learning this stitch or struggling with it, a good place to look for some guidance in my videos is my throw along crochet. It's in one of my playlists, I think, or it is a playlist, throw along crochet, because I do a lot of this stitch in that pattern. And so we're going to do this all the way around and give us a nice rope effect. And then I'll show you how we're going to finish it off and go back in the other direction. Okay, so keep doing that all the way around. You can back it up and look at it again. So we're going into the next front bar, pull that yarn through there. Front bar. And you have to be loose with it, because if you do this tight, it does not work. You can see that I am barely pulling tension here. And give it a little pull up a little bit like you do when you do a puff stitch. And we're just going to do that all the way around. Okay. I'll meet up with you when I get back to this corner here. You can put your, you will be able to see this, but I'll put a stitch marker there so I'll know when I'm there, okay? And I'll meet you up there. Okay, so I'm coming to a corner, so I want to show you how I'm doing the corners. It's very simple. Because if you remember, when you got to the corner, you did the chain in between when you turned the corner. I'm coming up to the corner. Right there's my corner. So I'm going to go through the front loop, pull my yarn through, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops, go through the next one, pull my loop through, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops, and I'm just going to go right around the corner the same way we're going around the side. Quite simple. Pull it through. Keep your tension loose. Make sure you always have enough yarn pulled out so it doesn't tighten up on you and get ugly. Next stitch, and that's just the way we're going to go, right around the corner in each stitch as you come to it. Front loop, pull that yarn through, 2 loops, close it up. And it gives us our nice little corner there, which we're going to be working back around one more time. I know this might be boring to some people, but if you're new to this stitch, and you know, if I'm just doing a repetitious thing here, it could help. You know, there might be something you catch on each stitch that you didn't catch on the stitch before. So I'm trying to go a little slower. It's kind of hard to go slow, but I'm trying. And see, if you get to like that and you go, uh-oh, where am I going? Well, you've already worked that stitch, and if you pull it up like that, you can see. So you know that's the next stitch. Go under the front bar of that stitch, grab that loop, and pull it through. And you do it loosely, like if you're doing a puff stitch, but even, you know, your tension just has to stay loose. It's just imperative. This stitch will not work if you are a tight tension crocheter. It will be the ugliest mess you've ever seen. And a lot of what will keep you steady about this and even, because see, it's beautiful, is just make sure your loose yarn that you're using is not tight or tight in any way. You need the looseness of that yarn to help you maintain this tension as well as your regular tension. So just pull it up loosely. Once you get the hang of it, it's quite simple. You can do it a lot faster. And it's either a reverse crochet or a crab stitch, whichever you prefer. When I learned it, I was told it was a crab stitch, but I always thought that it didn't have anything that made me think about a crab. So when I heard it was called reverse crochet, that made more sense, but only because it was done in reverse. So there you have it. It's a great stitch to have in your repertoire of stitches. It's extremely useful on many occasions. You wouldn't think so, but once you learn it, you'll be like, oh, I can use that reverse crochet. That would be perfect. And it's great. It's just a great stitch to know and to use. But I mean, really, the first time I did it, I wanted to throw plates at the wall. And I was just, you know, it just took me a while because, like I said, I have dyslexia, so we're already talking about a reverse crochet stitch, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, Lord, how am I going to figure that one out? So, you know, I just stuck with it, and at first I thought it was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen, and I was pulling it so tight. And I don't even usually have tight tension, so that should tell you that you need to have a very gentle, loose. Just think of your fingers and hands as like feathers, almost weightless, and that should give you the tension that you need. You know, it's almost like a dream, like ooh, into there. Just float through the stitch, floating through, yarn over, float through. Very calm, pull it through easy. And, you know, then after you get used to it and the feel for it, then you'll pick up your speed. Because, you know, a stitch isn't a stitch until you put it somewhere. You know what I mean? A stitch needs a purpose. Doesn't want to hang out on its own. So I'm going to continue doing that. I have to go, I'm almost back to my marker, and I'll meet you back up when I get to this marker here. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end, back to my stitch marker where I began with my reverse crochet. I have a couple left. I'm just going to stick it where we started at there. And then just pull up a slip stitch, slip it together like that. Chain one. Now we're going to go in these back stitches here. Let me see. Like right here. It's the second bar of the, we just did it in the front bar of the single crochet that we had done previously. So now if you can see, there's another bar here, the other part of the stitch. It's right here. It's just the other part of the top of that stitch. That's where we're going to go to get our loop. And we're just going to do a single crochet. Go into the next bar, single crochet, single crochet, and we're going to single crochet in that leftover back bar of that previous stitch all the way around. And what it does is, as you can see, it pushes what we just did, it pushes it up like a nice border rope and gives it that finished edge. And we're going to do that all the way around the corners, back to this marker, and you'll just join together with a slip stitch, tie off, and hide your threads. So I'll see you when we get back to the end of this. I'll do a little bit more here. If you just push that rope over you just made, you'll see it right there. And that finishes this reverse crochet stitch, which is going to be our little edging around. I could have done other kinds of edging, which I would have just done on the top and bottom. But I wanted a particular size. So like, 40 by 50, so. And we're just going to continue that all the way around. You see what a nice edge that gives us? So I'll see you back when we get to the end with the stitch marker. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of the single crochet stitches in my leftover back bar there. Reaching my stitch marker. I'm going to remove it. And I'm just going to join to that first single crochet that we did. Pull it through. Cut some yarn. Then I'm going to take my darning needle and get rid of this. The other one I crocheted in, so I'm just going to run it in. I'm just running it right inside there. Gotta keep your squared corner. And yeah, let me put that a little further in there. It popped out. I don't want it to come out. The other one I got when I crocheted the single crochets in the back, I crocheted that one in so I don't have to worry about the other hanging thread. And we are done with this beautiful, beautiful throw. Of course, we'll do photographs for you. And here's what we have. And it is completely reversible. You could use either side, as you can see. But this will be my front side, is the one we just finished, which for me is this one. Get it turned around right so you can see it. It's just beautiful. Pattern's just beautiful and quite simple to do. So here's mine. And here's the edges. How beautiful that is. And I'll lay it out and photograph it so you can see it better. I hope you enjoy this blanket and make many, many, many throws. I'm going to send this Afghan to Camp Boggy Creek. You can check those videos out on my site if you want to make some for them as well. And I really hope you enjoyed this pattern, and I'll see you again for another one really soon. And please like and subscribe and comment and share. And please watch. I have a lot of people who watch and don't subscribe. Thousands, really. And I have a lot of people who subscribe and don't seem to watch. So please watch, please like, please subscribe and share. I love doing this. I love teaching other people. So thank you very much and have a wonderful, wonderful day.